This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, normally we would be in chambers for this, and I would call each of you forward one at a time. But since that's not the case in this period that we're in, I'll start with Mayor Hobart, and we'll do your oath of office, and then we'll move on to our two new counselors. So, Rick Hobart, if you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Rick Hobart,
A duly elected mayor of the city of Vernonia,
a duly elected mayor of the city of Vernonia,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Oregon,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Oregon,
and the charter and ordinances of the city of Vernonia,
and the charter and the ordinances of the city of Vernonia,
I will faithfully perform the duties of mayor of the city of Vernonia,
that I will faithfully perform the duties of mayor of the city of Vernonia,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I now announce you as mayor of the city of Vernonia.
Thank you.
Okay, Grant Williams, if you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Grant Williams,
A duly elected city councilor of the city of Vernonia,
a duly elected counselor in the city of Vernonia,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Oregon,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America and the state of Oregon,
and the charter and ordinances of the city of Vernonia,
and the city and charter and the ordinances of the city of Vernonia,
that I will faithfully perform
that I will faithfully perform
the duties of city councilor of the city of Vernonia,
the duties of a city councilor in the city of Vernonia,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I now present you as Councilor Williams of the city of Vernonia.
Thank you.
Lorna Potter, if you could raise your right hand and repeat after me.
Okay.
I state your name.
I, Lorna Potter,
A duly elected city councilor of the city of Vernonia,
a duly elected city councilor of the city of Vernonia,
do hereby solemnly swear
do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Oregon,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Oregon,
and the charter and ordinances of the city of Vernonia,
and the charter and ordinances of the city of Vernonia,
that I will faithfully perform
that I will faithfully perform
the duties of city councilor of the city of Vernonia,
the duties of city councilor of the city of Vernonia.
so help me God.
So help me God.
I now present you as Councilor Potter of the city of Vernonia.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Now I hand it over to you, Mayor Hobart.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'd like to call the January 4th, 2021 regular council meeting to order at 7:05 p.m. Meeting called to order. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda this evening? JR?
I'd like to add that we talk about the house fire situation on second, see if there's some kind of a relief or something the city can do for those folks up there. I'm not sure what to call it, but I had it wrote down as house fire relief.
Okay. We could probably put that in new business, I would imagine, Stephanie, for discussion.
Works for me.
Okay.
New business D.
You said D as in dog?
G.
G. Got it.
G.
Like God. Yeah.
Like God, not dog.
Okay. If we'd like to accept the agenda with the addition of discussion of the house fire that took place on Christmas Eve morning or Christmas Day, would anyone like to make a motion to accept the agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as proposed with the change.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilor Webb. Um, would you call the roll, please, Stephanie?
Counselor Allen,
Aye.
Counselor Williams,
Aye.
Counselor Potter,
Aye.
Mayor Hobart,
Aye.
Counselor Webb.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Stephanie. Are there any presentations tonight? Okay. Moving on to the mayor's report, I would like to take this time in my report to congratulations and congratulate and welcome Councilor Potter and Councilor Williams to the council.
Thank you.
At the end of the last council meeting, I spoke about what is involved in being a city councilor and mayor, and the countless hours spent in meetings, workshops, and community events, and the many sacrifices that go along with this volunteer pledge to our local community. I would like to share with the council several actions that I believe will be helpful in best serving our Vernonia community. I participated in a LOC training session on December 2nd, and so I took a lot of notes and I obtained some valuable information I think we could use. The first item I'd like to talk about is bear with me a minute, sorry. Number one, read and periodically review our city charter and council rules. I will give you a pretty good example of one council rule I did not practice until almost the beginning of my second year in the term. And that council rule was to have a meeting with the city administrator and go over agenda items prior to the council. And I didn't start actually doing that until last August. And that was one of the valuable tools we have in our in our council rules that really kind of helped. And I think it's made quite a difference in our communication between the council and staff. So that's just one example. The second item that I'd like to talk about is be prepared for council meetings and workshops. The packets in hard copy and email are passed out normally on the close of Wednesday at 5 o'clock, preceding the council meeting. And make sure you read and understand all items on the agenda. And if you have any questions about any items, don't be afraid to ask either the city administrator or our city recorder, Stephanie. By doing so, the council meetings will become more efficient effective, and productive. And the third thing I took away from that training session that I'd like to talk about has to do with civility. Our current political atmosphere is very divided on the national level due largely to a lack of respect, kindness, and civility. I believe showing kindness, being flexible with solutions, and not taking things personally will go far in building trust both with the council and staff and our own citizens. I look forward to working alongside this council, and I will do my best to serve the city of Vernonia as your mayor in 2021 and 22. So that's my report. Are there any council committee meeting reports tonight? Okay. Any topics from the floor? Okay. So we'll go right into our public hearing. Public hearing is now open for the purpose of considering PA 19-01. The procedure I would like to follow tonight is in this manner. I will read the disclosure statement, hear the staff report, hear public testimony, and close the hearing. And then the council will deliberate. Ladies and gentlemen, I call this hearing on January 4th, 2021 to order at 7:15 p.m. My name is Rick Hobart. I am the chairman of the city of Vernonia. Our role is to conduct public hearings and to make legislative decisions about land use matters in Vernonia. The item before us tonight is a legislative item. Members of the city council are to be unbiased. Before the start of the hearing, I will ask the members of the city council whether they have any potential conflicts, such as family, financial, or business relationship, with regard to the land in question. If such a potential conflict exists, I will ask whether the council member in question believes he or she is without actual bias, or whether he or she would like to step down during the case review. A copy of the rules of procedure for the hearing, the agenda for today's hearing, and copies of the staff reports are available upon request. Any person with an interest in today's agenda item may offer relevant oral and/or written testimony, but please only speak when I identify you for that purpose. It is also important that you make your best case to the city council, because although all of our decisions are subject to appeal, any such appeal will be heard by the Land Use Board of Appeals, and they will decide the appeal based solely on the evidence in the record before us. Make sure your testimony is relevant to applicable standards for the item in question. Please do not repeat testimony offered by yourself or earlier witnesses. If I think your testimony is irrelevant or repetitious, I may interrupt and ask you to continue with another subject. Demonstrations from the audience are prohibited. Please refrain from them. Comments from the audience will not be part of the record. Are there any questions? That concludes the introduction. Does any city council wish to declare any potential conflict of interest? If not, then I'll turn it over to the staff for their written report, and I'll turn it over to Stephanie, go ahead.
This is where Councillor Williams will recuse himself from the discussion and decision because he has a direct conflict of interest.
Yeah, I need to not participate in this discussion. I
Okay,
own a building. I own a building across the street from the city hall that would be affected by it. So I'll just listen.
okay, understand. Thank you, Counselor Williams. Okay, I'll turn it over to Matt Straight.
And do. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you, Mayor, fellow council members, and our two new councilors. Very excited to have you with us this
Thank
evening.
you.
So the item before us tonight is a legislative item. And if I go too quick or you want me to slow down on any of this, I'm more than happy to go into it in more detail. Some of these other folks have heard these kind of things before. But this one item is addressing the need for parking revisions downtown. Now, it's addressing a very specific downtown parking need, and that is that we have historical buildings where the actual property is the footprint of the building. And if they want to put a new business in there, they're technically required to provide parking based on our code. And there's no way they can do that. And the last thing in the world we want to do here in the city of Vernonia is tell a business they can't come in. So we're making these changes to try and be a little bit more accommodating of those kinds of structures. And so this process ping-ponged back and forth from the city council to the planning commission several times. Matter of fact, Grant was on the planning commission before, and now he's seeing it from both sides of the fence. So that's how long it's been around. And what we landed on was last time we were with the city council for a hearing, not a workshop, but for a hearing, was in November of last year. And the city council directed staff to revise the proposal that our planning commission put forward. And the revisions specifically were, and they're listed here on page 3 of the staff report, that we waive all the parking requirements for any properties that front on Highway 47. Now, in this case, that means Rose Avenue and Bridge Street in the downtown zone. They want the city council wants us to continue to require that any voluntary parking that people do put in still has to conform with the design standards, because even if they're not required to put in parking, they may want to anyway, and that's allowed, but they have to conform to our standards if they do. The city council also asked that we have any building over 3,000 square feet on Highway 47 or Bridge Street provide some parking for their staff. And so we've incorporated that as well. The city council asked that we add design standards that require for any business in the downtown zone that's not right on Highway 47 can still voluntarily waive the parking requirements if they pay a downtown parking fee. And so that's part of what's moving forward today. We've actually added design standards as well that would require any businesses on Highway 47 to put their parking in the rear of their buildings and not have that take up valuable storefront real estate on Main Street or Rose Avenue. And last but not least, we've added a provision that would exempt municipal parking lots from the standards, because some of our parking lots can't be paved because they're in flood zones and they have to stay gravel. And our code actually requires paving of some of those lots. So we've added a provision to waive those standards for the municipal parking lots. Now, the packet that we handed out to the city council actually had the wrong version of the red line strikeouts in our code added to the packet. It was missing a couple of provisions. Stephanie has the correct version now and can put it up on the screen, and I can walk you through what those were. It was the provision for the 3,000 square foot buildings.
To clarify, the one that you have in your packet is correct. It doesn't have all the pages. So these couple pages, which I'm going to share my screen so you can see it, these are also part of it.
Again, those are capturing the elements that we just talked about that were in your staff report listed on page 3 in bullet point form. But this version, yeah, actually talks about parking lot design, and it explains, got to get in closer here, in A there, that any of the parking that they do add be located to the rear of the structures, and then B talks about the 3,000 square foot provision that we had discussed. So the ordinance that was included in your packet that you could adopt tonight was 100% correct. It was just this attachment that that was apparently missing a couple of these pages. And it's not a lot of text, so there it is in front of you. But with that, this concludes staff's presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So Matt, can I clarify something?
Certainly.
It's not for an existing 3,000 square foot building, which is kind of what your first statement led people to believe.
Oh, sorry.
It's for new construction bigger than 3,000 square feet.
And that's what it says there. Any new proposed structure larger than 3,000 square feet. Yeah, so you're correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I apologize. So, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to answer any questions if any city council members have them. Our recommendation for tonight is also included in the staff report, and it's essentially to approve 1901 and to have the city council adopt the ordinance that would put that into effect.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Are there any questions from the council directed towards Matt Straight or the staff? If there, oh, JR, go ahead. You're on.
Hi, Matt. Right when you said it, it reminded me, I had it highlighted when it said some parking for staff on the 3,000 feet. I was going to refer to my other counselors and see if they remembered that. I didn't remember the some. Well, some is kind of confusing anyway. Some could mean anything. I don't know if we need to clarify that a little bit, but I thought we just said we're going to have to provide new parking if they're built a new building. But Counselor Webb, I think, could answer that probably better than most of us. Hey, go ahead, Matt, first.
Okay, I was, the city council directed us to add a requirement that some parking be added, but they didn't want all of the parking requirements to kick in if it was a new building over 3,000, but they wanted some spots for staff. I actually struggled with that when I made the edits, and I landed on leaving it pretty much some staff because I wanted to leave it a little bit fuzzy on purpose, because we don't know what that business coming in is going to look like. If it were a one-story retail store that isn't going to generate a lot of traffic and has 2 staff members, we want it to be fairly liberal in the parking that would be required. But if it were a 3-story office building that was going to have 100 employees, then we would want obviously to require more parking. So it was really going to be based on the kind of staff they anticipated having.
Well, that seems like it's going to set us up for a big argument later on over people, but I'd like to hear what Councilor Webb has to say about his memory of that last council work session.
Well, you're trying to trust my memory, JR. Yeah, I don't remember a sum, but I don't remember us putting the specification in there. Just I thought we were going to follow what the current city code specifies, which would then be specific to the building. Like we currently are doing, and it specifies how many spaces by a certain amount of square footage. I see Josette nodding her head.
Yeah, I see Josette's hands up. Go ahead, Josette. Maybe you can help.
But that's what I understood too. So if Mike Peel's right here and he's going to add a little 2,000 square foot building, then his building would be adjusted by just that 2,000 square feet and what its use is, not what it's attached to, and make it 4,000 square feet because that's the building now. I don't remember them saying some staff. I think it just triggered them having to put something in if they were doing a brand new structure following the code as it exists, is what I remember.
We can certainly make that change.
That's exactly what I remember too, that it was going to trigger the parking standard over 3,000 square feet of new construction. But I'm definitely open to talk about it.
Rick, I know that I can't say anything pertaining to myself personally.
No,
But
you can't. Sorry,
No,
can't say anything.
you can't speak at all.
no.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's no problem.
As much as you want to, you can't. You already recused yourself. JR, were you
Matt, what does that
satisfied
change
with that?
like?
Well, I don't know how we can put some in anything, really. Some is kind of strange to me, but I mean, what do you think, Mayor Hobart?
Well, weren't we just talking about the amount of spaces per square foot of the building?
No, we're talking about if
Text
someone
back
comes
on the
in and
screen
builds a
for me.
brand new building.
Stephanie, can you throw that text back up on the screen for us? I want to see exactly what we were proposing in that.
Page 5, the third bullet point on page 5, if anybody
Oh,
wants
sure.
to read it.
But I want to see what the actual text in the ordinance said. That bullet was just colloquially a way in the staff report to tell people what we were doing. Here's the actual text we proposed.
And I can't see that because it's too small.
I can read it for you. Any new proposed structure larger than 3,000 square feet shall provide off-street parking for all staff. Oops. Shall provide off-street parking for all staff that uses the structure or site. So that's what we were actually proposing to have included. And that's why it would be flexible based on what kind of business was coming in. And so they would have to provide in their narrative how many staff they were proposing to have and how many spaces that would consume. And then we would just include that as a requirement on the building.
Can you just change it to say, any new proposed structure larger than 3,000 square feet shall provide off-street parking as outlined in the parking standards?
Certainly, yeah, we can do that.
And then the off-site stuff will already be in this ordinance to make it behind the building, but it will then fall into, is it retail, is it a restaurant, is it a bar?
Yeah, that text actually came directly from Councillor Webb, because he said that he didn't want to burden a business with complying with all the required spaces, but he did feel that they had to provide parking for their staff. That way it would keep them off the street and leave the street open for customers. But he didn't think there was going to be a need to put more customers in parking spaces. At least that's what my notes reflected from the workshop that we had. But I'm certainly more than happy to make that change if that's the direction of the council.
Am I still, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think that's probably the smartest thing to do at this point till this kind of flushes out, because I could come in, build a new 3,000 square foot building or bigger and say I'm running a one-person bird store and I'm the only one. And then a year later, sell the building. It gets divided up into 100 different businesses and you're stuck with a plot that doesn't work.
Sounds good.
I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate there, so.
I concur with you, JR.
Yeah. So any other questions?
Only question I have is to Stephanie. So can we adopt this ordinance tonight, or we have to have that revision in there?
You can just make a motion that says we want to adopt the text as proposed by staff with the amendments discussed, and then adopt the ordinance. And that works.
Yeah, so since this is a minor change, it's not a problem. You're just taking out a couple words, really. If it was a major change, then we would really have to renotice it.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions for the staff? If not, now is the time for public testimony. Does any member of the public wish to speak or present testimony on this agenda item?
Steph, are they unmuted? So if they did want to say something?
Yes, they have full control of their mics. I didn't touch it.
Okay.
So there's no public testimony tonight? Okay. Thank you, councilors. And at this time, I would like to close the public hearing at 7:30 p.m. Public hearing is closed. And now I will entertain the council for a motion. Counselor Allen,
I'll make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 927, an ordinance of the city of Vernonia amending Title 9, Chapter 9-01.
As amended.
As amended, as discussed. Thank you.
thank you, Counselor Allen. Is there a second?
Counselor Webb will second.
Thank you, Counselor Webb. Stephanie, would you call the roll, please?
Counselor Williams recused himself. Counselor Webb.
Aye.
Counselor Potter.
Aye.
Mayor Hobart.
Aye.
Counselor Allen.
Aye.
Motion carried. Would any counselor wish to have this ordinance read in full? Thanks. Hearing no such request, this is the first reading of ordinance number 927 by title only, an ordinance of the city of Vernonia amending Title 9, Chapter 9-01. You guys want to do both motions today?
Does it have to be a unanimous vote in order for it to be done in one evening? Based on
It
the
would
charter?
be unanimous. He recused himself.
Okay, okay.
Did you ask a question, Stephanie?
I'm sorry. My question was, would you guys like to adopt it to do the second reading and motion tonight, or do you want to bring it back at the next meeting?
I'm good with going forward.
For tonight.
So do you need a motion, another motion?
Anyone like to make a motion to move forward?
I'll
Counselor
make
Webb.
that motion. We adopt ordinance number 927, an ordinance of the city of Vernonia amending Title 9, Chapter 9-01.
Thank you,
As
Counselor
amended.
Webb.
As amended. Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Counselor Allen. Would you call the roll, please, Stephanie?
Mayor Hobart.
Aye.
Counselor Allen.
Aye.
Counselor Webb.
Aye.
Counselor Potter.
Aye.
Counselor Williams recused himself. Motion carried. Would any counselor like to have this ordinance read in full?
Ew.
Hearing no such request, this is the second reading of ordinance number 927 by title only, an ordinance of the city of Vernonia amending Title 9, Chapter 9-01. This ordinance will be in effect in 30 days.
Counselor Webb.
Do we need to adopt PA 1901?
It's not crucial that you approve the project. It's sometimes helpful in the record to show that you approve the application as well, but adopting the ordinance is all that needs to be done for legal reasons. You're good.
I just seen the prepared motion had it in it. So.
It's always good to help clarify things, but it's not a requirement.
Okay.
Counselor Allen.
I'd like to thank everybody who's been involved in this. It's been probably a multi-year, multi-decade battle. I think our staff and Matt Straight's done a good job putting his tail between his legs and going back to planning commission several times, starting over without getting visibly too frustrated with us. So I'd like to thank him personally for his patience. I think in the end we got a better product that I think we all could smile about.
Thank you.
Yeah, well said, Counselor Allen. And I too want to thank the staff and Matt and the council and the previous council for all the work they started in December 2019. And, you know, it's been a little over a year now when we finally got it. And I agree with you, Counselor Allen. I think it's a good ordinance for the downtown corridor especially. So thank you again, Matt, for all the work you did on this. So, Councilor Webb.
Yeah, and I'd like to mirror that. And this was one of those things, as being a counselor, it wasn't fun to deal with. I mean, it's not a fun project. It's something that causes heartburn for people. And I truly believe that we've got the right solution here. It provides the protection that we need, but it also doesn't overburden our struggling businesses. So, and yeah, Matt was a go-between guy there. So, good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Webb. See you later, Matt. Thanks again.
Matt's staying on,
Okay,
right?
good.
Because we have a work session we need to schedule.
Oh, that's right.
Don't we?
Okay.
Unless I'm forgetting.
No, you're right.
Okay.
Okay, ready to move on to consent agenda for acceptance. Consent agenda for approval. That would be for the city council meeting minutes for December 7th, 2020. Any discussion or questions? Anyone like to make a motion to accept the city council meeting minutes for December 7th, 2020? Councilor Webb.
I'll move to accept the consent agenda for acceptance.
Thank you, Councilor Webb. Is there a second?
Couldn't hear you, Councilor Allen.
Try it again, JR.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you for the second. Would you call roll, please, Stephanie?
Mayor Hobart,
Aye.
Councilor Webb,
All right.
Councilor Williams,
I don't think I can vote on it. I wasn't on the council.
yeah,
Yeah.
what your vote is that you believe this is a true reflection of the meeting that they had.
Hey,
Councilor Allen,
Aye.
Councilor Potter,
Aye.
motion carried.
Thank you, Stephanie. Is there any unfinished business tonight? If not, we'll move into new business. Electing council president. At the first meeting of every odd-numbered year, shall appoint a president from its councilors. Except in voting on questions before the council president shall function as mayor when the mayor is absent from council meetings or unable to function as mayor. So at this time, I will ask for any nominations from the council for a newly elected council president for the next 2-year term.
I'd like to nominate JR.
Okay, now J.R. Allen has been nominated. I will ask J.R. if he is willing to accept this position.
I would, if that's what council would like. I'd be honored. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Allen. I will call for a roll call from Stephanie. See, Josette.
So Rick, you make sure that's your only nomination. So
Oh,
double
okay.
check there's not any, and you roll call for the ones
Okay.
as they're nominated, just to make sure.
I understand. Are there any other nominees or for the position of council president? Okay, Stephanie.
I don't believe you need a motion for this. You can appoint him with consensus of council.
Okay. So I will take a general consensus of the council to to elect Councilor Allen for president of the council. Councilor Webb.
Aye, I concur.
Okay. Councilor Potter.
Aye.
Okay. Councilor Williams.
Aye.
This time we have a general consensus that J.R. Allen, Councilor Allen, is the newly elected president of the Vernonia City Council. Congratulations, J.R.
Thank you all. I'll do my best to make you all proud of the position. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, our next item in new business is committee liaison appointments. And as you can see on your sheet, I am the liaison for the seniors, which I'd like to remain. And I'm also the liaison at the library. And I did take on another position on a board in Columbia County last year. So I'm definitely willing to give up that library position on a Wednesday night. I believe they meet on the first Wednesday of every month at 6 o'clock at the library. So I'd like to open that up um, for any other council members that would be interested in the library board. Um, Looks like we have two positions open, or three now. Um, the cemetery committee and the airport committee. I'll just,
Mayor Hobart.
Mayor?
yeah, go ahead, Councilor Allen.
Um, I would like to switch it up for myself just to get some different experiences. I actually talked to Mr. Webb tonight about swapping, and after we spoke for a minute, I think he's well suited for where he's at, and quite happy and doing a great job there. So I would be interested in taking on the cemetery committee.
Okay.
Mayor?
Okay, go ahead.
Mayor Hobart, I would be interested in taking on the appointment for the library board if that hadn't been filled.
Okay. Councilor Williams.
Mr. Mayor, I am very interested in the airport committee.
Okay.
It is worth,
Councilor Webb.
Yeah, my screen's locked up, so I can't see what's going on for some reason, but I guess you can see me. Um, I guess I could take on parks too.
Well, hold on a minute there, Mr. Mayor. I think Grant should know. I think Grant volunteered for the airport committee.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I think they met about 2 times last year total, Grant. So you might think about if you want to really get involved, that Parks Committee is a good bunch of people and they're pretty active. So that I think the airports was twice last year, if I remember right. Am I correct, Josette?
Yeah, they don't have very much business.
Well, if that is correct, then I could probably do both. They're only going to meet once or twice a year. I could do the parks and the airport when they do meet.
I think you'd be excellent.
Unless there's enough people, obviously, for everybody to have one spot.
There's more committees than there are counselors.
Yeah.
I think Rick has the seniors also, right, Rick?
Yeah, I'm at the seniors. Yep. So,
And Grant, if the airport committee gets to be too much, just talk to me and I'll take it over.
Will do. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine with me then. Grant wants the park.
thank you, Grant.
You're welcome.
Looks like we have just about all of them covered now, I think.
Yep.
So, very good. Thank you all.
I guess I should ask if that's okay to switch midstream if something gets to be too much for somebody.
Yeah.
I don't think it will be too much, Grant, but if it is, just let me know. I'll take it.
It'll be fun.
Okay, moving on. Staff report work session schedule.
So this
Is
one
there-
I brought to you guys because you requested that you wanted to schedule a work session to move forward on specifically discussing the sidewalk section of Title IX and discussing whether or not to make changes to the waiver of remonstrance process, which we'd probably want Matt in attendance because it is changing parts of Title IX. So when do you guys want to meet?
Counselor Allen.
I think I bet we have 3 or 4 work sessions on this subject, and I just want to make sure we're not wasting Matt's time and trip up here unless it's going to be virtual. Are we talking in person? Or are we talking virtual meeting?
It has to be virtual right now.
Oh, okay. Well, then we can waste Matt's time.
I'm up there once a week anyhow. Happy to join.
So I'm open whenever you guys want to do it. So I'm easy. Just say when.
Anytime next week?
We typically do the Wednesdays. Is that good for everybody on the 13th? Or is there
Got a time in
committee?
mind?
There might be some committee meetings though.
I don't think so.
That's the
Got
second
a
Wednesday.
time in mind? You have a time in mind on the 13th?
Oh, we typically do 6 p.m. if I remember right.
Okay.
If
Does that work
somebody
for
has
you, Matt?
Yeah.
So January 13th at 6 p.m. virtual. Counselor Webb.
So I would like to see staff bring us some proposals of how other cities do this. Options. I don't know if this is totally a black and white. We require it, we don't require it. What do cities do in between? So I don't know if there's any research time that needs to be happen before you come to us? Boy, screen's jumping around here. But yeah, I'm
We
open
have
to the
enough.
15th.
What'd you say, Steph?
Will you have enough time to gather that information, Matt?
Oh yeah, I could give you that information from memory. I deal with this in all kinds of other jurisdictions.
Perfect.
I'll try to put together some written materials for you as well. No problem.
Matt, isn't there some situations where you hit 50 or 60% occupancy and then it kicks in a certain undeveloped area or scenarios like that that you can look at?
I'll look into bringing some information to you. I've never heard of a situation specifically like that in a code where it requires a certain percentage of structures before they kick that in. Usually the city council says they want to build a street in an area, and that's when they call in those funds from all those neighbors. But I'll get some details for you.
Okay, well, I appreciate what you can come up with.
Okay, sounds like we're going to have a workshop on remonstrance variances and sidewalks on the 13th of January at 6 p.m. So we'll move on to the OLCC request from the Island Grill. That can be found on page 32.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah,
currently the Island Grill does not have any violations and no reason for denial. If there is council consensus to approve, I'll sign the permit in the morning.
okay. Thank you, Chief. Has everyone looked at the application from the Island Grill? I look like he applied in May of 2020. Well, it takes quite a while to go through the process, evidently, but is there a motion to approve this application of OLCC for Islands Grill? Councilor Webb.
I'll move to approve the Island Grill OLCC application.
Thank you, Councilor Webb. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilor Williams. Will you call the roll, please, Stephanie?
Mayor Hobart,
Aye.
Councilor Webb,
Aye.
Councilor Williams,
Aye.
Councilor Allen,
Aye.
Councilor Potter.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Chief, for passing that along to Jordan tomorrow. Sure, he'll be glad to hear that.
No problem. Also, I'd like to say welcome to the new city councilors and look forward to working with you guys in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Are you going to be further on and give a report tonight?
I don't have a staff report tonight, but I will be on if you guys have
Okay.
any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Public Works Committee application from Michael Calhoun can be found on page 33.
This is an application that I brought forward to you tonight. Typically, these come from the committees with a recommendation. However, this is one of the committees that is not meeting because of COVID, and they are also hurting for members. So I'm bringing this forward so that we can get more members on that committee, so that once they can start meeting again, they have sufficient numbers.
Thank you, Stephanie. I saw Michael Calhoun was with us earlier. I saw he left though, or maybe he came back.
He's back.
Yes.
Oh, good. Has the council had a chance to review this application?
I
Any,
have,
good.
and
I have.
he's a nice young man, Mayor, and I think he'll do a good job. He's really dedicated to, different causes, and I think, and he grew up here in Vernonia, and he really, wants to do something positive for Vernonia, so I'm perfectly fine with it.
Thank you, Councilor Allen. Councilor Webb,
Yeah, I
yes,
concur. It be a good addition to the Public Works Committee.
thank you, Councilor Webb. Councilor Potter,
Aye.
okay, thank you. And Councilor Williams.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay, well, wonderful. With the general consensus and total consensus of the Vernonia City Council, it's my honor and pleasure to appoint Michael Calhoun to the Public Works Committee on this evening on January 4th, 2021. Thank you, Michael, for stepping up, and look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you, Michael. Parks Committee recommendation, Spencer Park Phase 3 trees. Josette?
This staff report comes from me. Steve Whiteman, who most of you know, has been instrumental in getting the memorial tree project to get Spencer Park covered in trees with shade for the residents in the future. He did 2 rounds, and this is phase 3. He has roughly 5 citizens that are interested in putting this phase 3. It went to Parks Committee, and you'll see there in your packet on page 35 is their recommendation letter. And then page 36 is the map of Spencer Park. The phase 1 trees are in green, the phase 2 trees are in like a yellowish orange, and then the purplish fuchsia dots would be the ones in phase 3. There's 5 that are currently paid for. People are willing to buy 5 of the 7 immediately, and he believes he can get the other 2 also paid for. So 2 are going to go in that little island right kind of in front of the play shed. 3 would go kind of in the no man's land at the edge of that baseball field. And then 2 would provide shade down at the old girls softball field because there's really nothing. When the sun's out and you're watching a game there, the sun is beating on you. So the goal would be to plant 2 trees down there for shade in the future. So if council approves, then we'll move forward with Steve and the members that are willing to pay for them and get those purchased and then install them potentially. I think he's planning on a spring planting.
Thank you, Josette. Councilor Allen?
Josette, who's going to provide the trees this go around? Do you know yet?
Well, so the ones that he's looking at, he's been looking at the ones from Super Trees. Those are who did phase 1. But we're not opposed to putting it out and seeing where the best deal lies. But he's been looking at the inventory and availability from Super Trees. Those ones seem to take really well. They have a patent pending way they pot them, so the root systems are kind of all facing out, which seemed to work for the first phase. So he was looking at those, but we'll potentially just put it out there and see who can get the trees he's looking for the best deal. Because really, you want the memorial money for the tree to pay for the tree. You don't want it to be like, oh, you're going to pay $250 and we're picking out a $300 tree or something. So whatever caliper we can get for the money that the memorial trees typically cost, which is around $250, that's the goal. The bigger, the better.
I think Steve's done a great job. Doesn't matter if he's on the committee or not. He just keeps pushing ahead in Spencer Park. And if we didn't have a name for it, we'd probably name it after him later on. It's going to be really nice. And I know the council as a whole, I'm sure, well, at least I'll better speak for myself. I thank him for what he's doing. And I'm going to come down, Josette, and buy one of those next trees.
All right.
So I guess
Yeah,
that's
he's
6
kind
trees.
of a diehard. Every year he says, "Where are the bags?" And he puts the bags on him and drags his hose around, watering everything when it's dry out. And this is kind of his mission.
Well, he's doing a good job, and
Yeah.
we appreciate it. And I'm going to donate a tree myself. I think it's a great idea.
Josette, did you mention that there was a budget? You said something about 250 a tree. It's 7 trees. Is that right?
So typically that's the cost, and we try to get the largest caliper of the species we're looking for that money.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to
So the
volunteer
city is
to buy
never
a
out
tree
the
too.
money. Sorry?
I'd like to volunteer to buy a tree too.
Awesome.
I'm gonna
So
join
the city's
JR
never
there.
out the money. It usually comes in first from the memorial, from
Oh,
people
okay.
wanting it, and we keep track of that, so we know every tree has a letter or a number, and then who it's in honor of, because some people do it in honor of their parents or a family.
Yeah.
And then there's a plaque we can
Awesome.
order. There's a plaque people can order, right, Josette?
There is. I have 11 plaques that need to go in the ground that didn't make it in the fall, but will be placed in the spring.
And the plaque is a
Maybe
little
I
bit extra.
misunderstood JR. I thought you volunteered to buy a tree.
Yes, I
He
did.
did.
Okay, well, I do too.
But there's also a plaque you can buy, a little bit additional charge that says the name of the memorial, whoever you want, or if you want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, does any council wish to make a motion to move forward with the Spencer Park Phase 3 trees program?
I would like to make a motion to move forward with Phase 3, Spencer Trees Park.
Is there a
Spencer
second?
Park.
I second that.
Thank you, Councilor Potter. Would you call the roll, please, Stephanie?
Counselor Allen,
Aye.
Counselor Webb,
Aye.
Counselor Williams,
Aye.
Counselor Potter,
Aye.
Mayor Hobart.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, the last item is discussion about the house fire on Second Avenue. Councilor Allen.
Yeah, I brought this up. I don't know a whole lot about the situation up there. I heard rumors, but I'm not sure what the city can do to help. I was hoping Josette could put a little thought into it and bring back a recommendation, if any, at our next council meeting. I just would like to let us think about it. I know there's a person up there that lost their home and everything, and it'd be nice if we could do something as a city to, I don't know what way we can help, but I think we could come up with some kind of way. So I didn't really want to come down to specifics tonight. I just wanted to kind of get people thinking about it and maybe bring something back next time and give Josette time to give us a little bit more information on that situation up there. I don't know if they have insurance or not, or the cleanup or whatever else, what maybe we can do. So that was just my thought, but it's up to obviously all of you. So I'd like to hear what your thoughts are.
Is there any kind of a precedent for helping people with situations like this?
No.
So we don't have any guidelines or anything to go by really at this point.
Not when it comes to fire. When it comes to flood, we kind of are rehearsed in that, and we
Oh yeah.
do debris removal and stuff for flood events, even low-lying around Bear Creek and stuff. But we haven't had any experience with house fires and doing assistance. I can definitely check into what the situation is and if that person has insurance and if they're planning on rebuilding in that site. Because that's kind of the first thing to figure out is, do they want to come back to that place or are they kind of done? Then that
Yeah.
would kind of change the options there, I think.
Counselor Potter here. My concern about that is that I know a lot of people in town are contributing and there's some bank accounts set up, and I would think that Red Cross would be taking care of that situation. So I'm not sure that would be a good idea for the city of Vernonia to get involved in that type of a charity, in the event that there's other people that lose their homes, and there has been. And was the city able to step up to that? I would caution about that the city would get involved in that when there's other resources available. That's my only comment about it.
Thank you, Counselor Potter. I kind of tend to agree, and I think we need to find out more information, like Josette said, about insurance. And I experienced a house fire quite a few years ago, and we lost everything. And fortunately, we had good insurance, and they paid for our rent while the house was rebuilt, and that was through a good insurance company, and they pretty well took care of us really well. So, um, like Lorna, Counselor Potter said that I think there's a bank account at WANA
Mm-hmm.
for funding for that, and at the market also. So,
Well, and one other point about that is that Vernonia takes care of their own on tragedies like that, and I think not knowing, what their monetary value that they need, I just don't see that would be something that the city should be stepping into.
Josette.
So the other thing that we could do as city is just make sure that she's connected to the services that are out there through community action team, through different agencies that do that kind of temporary housing, and even to some extent low income housing construction. If she was not insured and owns the land outright or something, there may be a potential for ABCs of home ownership class where she could get funded to reconstruct that way too. But we could definitely check into it, see what the deal is, and at least direct her to those other resources that are bigger than what the citizens of Vernonia could provide too.
Okay. Any other discussion about the house fire? Okay. Any business from the departments? Chief Connor did not have a staff report tonight.
He typically does his the second meeting of the month, Mayor.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to ordinances and resolutions. Resolution 2021-01, master fee schedule. Could be found on pages 37 through 42.
I didn't see any changes in there. Did I miss something?
Let me pull up my red line real quick.
So I know there's I just threw away my Post-it note, but the parking fees in there. Let me grab my Post-it note out of the garbage. So it should have parking, connection fee change and the camping wording. Stephanie, that's what I have. So utility change from the connection, from hookup, because everywhere else it's a connection, and for some reason in one part it said hookup, which didn't seem right.
What
That would
page
be under, I'm on 38,
Okay.
and then if you go down to, let me find it. So, sorry, 39. So in the bullet points that say new account administration fee, on-off fee, late account, water connection, sewer connection. One of those used to say hookup.
For the life of me, I cannot find my red line version. Sorry.
And then under, sorry, at the very first page, we changed the camping wording for Anderson Park to say full hookup, because that's actually what you're doing on an RV. Extended stay, the full hookup changed. And then the only other one is down in planning fees on page 41, the very last item, above library fees, downtown zone in lieu of parking, $10 per space per year.
How much did the full hookup at Anderson Park used to be? 25?
It isn't the wording that changed. It isn't the amount that changed, it's the wording.
Oh, okay.
The amount stayed the same.
Okay.
This is more of just a tweak of grammar and wording. The only monetary thing that's been added is the $10 for per space per year for the downtown zone in lieu of parking fee.
Right.
And that money will go to Stripe, put up signage for public parking, that type of thing.
JR, go ahead.
Josette, the fee for the parks, the $2 fee that we've kicked around the idea of raising that, what do we got to do to
Yeah.
make that $3? Is that got to go through the Parks Department? I'm just wondering if that's something we should look at because of the amount of care that we're starting to give to those parks. We're going to need more money eventually.
Yeah, so in that's a good discussion for council to potentially have and make some decisions, because if you change that utility customer parks maintenance fee, if you increase it, then you need to increase the, potentially you need to increase the annual parking pass or the senior parking pass, because then they're going to be cheaper than the citizens pay.
Yeah,
So,
I was doing the math on that. You're right, because you go into $3, it'd be $36 a year, and you could buy an out of town one for 35, right?
Yeah. So we'd have to change those three somehow. One of the things that we have looked at, and Parks was talking about that in their last meeting about the fee and whether or not what we've kind of shied them away from is just raising it to raise it. Raise it with a direction in mind of where that money would actually be spent. Why do we need to do it? Because that's the elevator speech as Parks Committee. They're going to have to be out there telling the public, we're increasing it because we need X, Y, and Z in the Parks Department, not just because we want to take more of your money. Or this is what you would see. We're going to try and do more weed, killing of broadleaf weeds or thistle or something with the increase. Have a reason we're increasing it. So they're thinking about that. But typically it would come from Parks Committee to you guys to increase it and then come to you guys in this type of amendment.
Well, in the last 2 years, I think everybody in this town has noticed a big difference in the amount of maintenance that city staff has put into the park. So I think it'd be a fairly easy sell to raise that fee $1, but that's something I think maybe the Parks Department can kick around and come up with a way to think about that at least.
Yeah,
Not that
they're
I'm,
thinking about it. We told them to propose it, to talk about it at their January meeting and potentially propose something so that we could get it into the budget. If council really does change the master fee schedule, then that would change the expected budget for that department going into next fiscal year.
what would that do to the machines potentially if we had to change all those fees? You have to reprogram them all?
No, because typically you just set the machines. If you change daily parking, we'd have to reset some numbers. But if you just change the passes and the maintenance fee, that's just two numbers that get changed in the program and then get changed at the park host taking in the money. We'd have to, make sure the park hosts were collecting the right amount from a certain point on.
Since we're talking about parks just for a second, it's a little bit off topic, but I remember passing with council that they could park RVs dry camp at the lake overnight. Is that not correct? Because I don't see it anywhere on the fee schedule.
Yeah, we don't have it on the fee schedule. I'd have to look back on the minutes, JR. I remember that discussion. I don't remember exactly how it went because then we started talking with Jason Wheelock and Skip about the potential for the spots around that burner base. And then it kind of, I don't know where it went after that. So I'd have to look on the minutes to see if you guys approved an amount per night that was supposed to go into master fee. I don't believe it got that far, but I can look.
I remember passing it for $20 a night for self-contained RVs. In fact, we had a couple RVs that did camp there and paid the fee. About the time when we all went down there and cleared out that brush a while back at the entrance, there was a guy camping there, dry camp. So I'm pretty sure I'm right. I remember passing that if it was a self-contained unit, they could stay there overnight.
So one reality it could be is that you guys made that determination, but it didn't get into this, the master fee schedule didn't come back to you close enough to that decision for staff to remember to get it in there. But we can definitely research that and see what the process was, and if it is, we can easily bring it back to you guys to instill into this document again.
Yeah, because I think we're missing an opportunity there.
Update it as often as you want. Okay.
Thank you for looking into that. That's the way I remember it anyway.
Okay, would any other discussion on the master fee schedule or questions? Would anyone like to make a motion to amend the master fee schedule, resolution 2021-01?
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 2021-1, a resolution providing the adoption of a new and revised master ski fee schedule and rescinding resolution 2020-12.
Thank you, Counselor Allen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Counselor Webb. Would you call the roll, please, Stephanie?
Counselor Williams,
Aye.
Counselor Allen,
Aye.
Counselor Webb,
All right.
Counselor Potter,
Aye.
Mayor Hobart.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Stephanie. Resolution 2021-02, extending enterprise zone Cascade Tissue.
Okay, so I brought you guys this staff report, and on our conference call with us tonight, we have Paul Vogel from Columbia County Economic Team. They're the group that kind of navigates and does the processing for people entering the enterprise zone to get capital or to get tax relief for capital improvements and job creation. And then Stephanie's going to put up a screen share map. I didn't get it included in the packet, but Paul sent it to us of the different areas of the different communities that are included in the enterprise zone. So you can see Vernonia has a section out towards Knott Street. We have a downtown section, a light industrial section kind of down by the old mill. And then we have the airport, and then you'll see a lot of the kind of 30 corridor and the new kind of campus there and the different manufacturing that goes on the 30 corridor is included in that South Columbia County Enterprise Zone. So we are a co-sponsor. All of the communities that have enterprise zones in their communities co-sponsor the effort and have to approve new people entering the enterprise zone with capital improvement or job creation or extensions. And that's what this one is for Cascade Tissue. It's an extension for a 4th and 5th year, I believe, if I'm not wrong. Am I right or wrong, Paul?
Yes, it's an extension. It's an extended new application. So
Okay.
it's not extending their existing abatement. And I can explain why it's called an extended application. It's very complicated.
Yes, go ahead. Welcome, Paul Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Paul Vogel. I'm Executive Director of the Columbia County Economic Team. And I came on about the time COVID began, and I haven't gotten out to enough of the communities and met any of you, but I'm delighted to meet you online tonight, and particularly your new counselors, and to watch you do business. It's good to get a feel for how each community runs. A little bit of background on the enterprise zone for any of the counselors that are relatively new to this. There are 74 enterprise zones in Oregon. 57 of them, I believe, 54 maybe, are rural enterprise zones. It's a particularly helpful economic development and incentive tool for rural Oregon. There are about 17, I think, urban zones in the Lane County and principally in the Multnomah and Clackamas and Washington County areas. Oregon has actually relatively few investment incentives when it comes to recruiting, particularly external investment, folks coming into the state. Historically, we have just tried to recruit industry based on good strategy and kind of feeling like they should be fortunate to live here, and they probably should. but it is a principal tool, particularly for smaller and rural communities. There are two enterprise zones in Columbia County. One is the South Columbia County Enterprise Zone, of which Vernonia is a co-sponsor. Excuse me. There's also the Lower Columbia Maritime Enterprise Zone, which is further north, includes the Port Westward industrial properties, bits and pieces around Clatskanie and Rainier as well. Columbia County Economic Team is the manager of both enterprise zones, and so we have responsibility to help administer applications, to help ensure that the commitments are made and that by the investors, and that they comply with their agreements. Although it's not that tough to do that, because if you don't comply with your agreement, the county tax assessor and the State Department of Revenue get involved, and it generally doesn't turn out well. So people are actually pretty grateful to have the tax abatement, and pretty good about complying. We haven't had issues in our county. There are 6 co-sponsors of the South County Enterprise Zone: Vernonia, the Port of Columbia County, Scappoose, St. Helens, Columbia County itself, and City of Columbia City. I almost forgot one there. We've taken this proposal to 3 of the other co-sponsors to this point. The reason it's called an extended application is because if you simply file, the statutes allow you enterprise zone benefits, tax abatement for up to 3 years, really as an administrative action. However, 5-year exemption, there are a couple of other obligations that come along with it. First of all, you have to go to the sponsors and get permission. Secondly, you have to meet higher standards. You need to meet, you have to increase your employment, your existing employment by 10%. And you also have to commit to paying wages at 150% of the annual covered wage in the community. And so that sets a higher bar to get a 5-year extension or a 5-year abatement as opposed to just 3. And that's what this application is. The application that you have before you is from Cascades Tissue. They have facilities both in St. Helens and Scappoose, as you're probably aware. And they have existing exemptions in place that I believe expire in 2022. That was for about a $47 million investment at the time. This is a new one, and it's to expand and add 2 lines to their Cascades or their Scappoose plant. Cascades was going through a bit of a reorganization in the fall, and they wanted to add 2 new lines. We're all well aware that tissue increased in demand over the last year. They wanted to add 2 new lines, and as they were doing the reorganization, they actually put this expansion up for competition among its North American facilities. And the enterprise zone was actually something that we helped Cascades, the Scappoose folks and their representatives use to help compete to get this investment here, as opposed to in the Northeast or up in Canada, a couple of other plant locations they have around the country. So that's what the enterprise zone is there for, is as an incentive. This would be a $14.5 million expansion. It will create 21 new jobs, and those 21 new jobs, that had to be 10% over their total employment in our enterprise zone, not just Scappoose plant, but also the St. Helens plant. And so 21 gets them just a bit over that 10%, and they have committed to the 150% of annual covered wage. I think the proposed resolution lines out what the average annual covered wage is. These jobs are estimated to be about $20,000 higher than that. And so they've made those commitments, and what our request to the council is an authorization to prepare an agreement and sign it with Cascades Tissue, committing them to the conditions of the application, as well as the conditions of maintaining those employment levels, maintaining those, the wage levels, and also contributing 10% to the Betterment Fund, which actually pays CSET to administer the zone. We get 10% of the abatement on an annual basis. As I mentioned, we've got 3 sponsors already lined up. They've already passed resolutions. It would be the 4th if you approve this. The Port of Columbia County is next week, and I believe Columbia County Board of Commissioners will be next week as well. So nothing too out of the ordinary, except it is an extended zone. We're delighted to get 21 jobs, particularly in the middle of the pandemic. We're finding that external investment is not happening very quickly under the current economic climate. Where we're seeing more opportunities for growth is among sort of native or existing industries expanding. And so we're pleased that Cascades has decided they want to do that here. So I'll stop talking. Hopefully that's enough information for background. I'll stop talking and invite any questions that anyone may have.
Councilor Allen.
Yeah, thanks, Paul, for coming on tonight. I actually did read this today, and I looked them up on the internet, and I liked the way they donated 300 cases of paper during the pandemic. And I liked the wage. I liked everything about it. But I'm curious is how much is 10%?
10%. We haven't got the numbers exactly from the assessor's office. I'm extrapolating. So their $47 million investment is about, their tax abatement is about $877,000 a year, and it depreciates. It reduces as it depreciates. This is significant. This is, an order of magnitude of about four times less. So the 10% will be, the 10% should be in the neighborhood of about $20,000 on an annual basis.
Okay, my other question would be for Vernonia to take their cut. What would that be? I mean, we're going to get less revenue, obviously, for part of this zone, correct?
Well, in the aggregate, in terms of the county-wide impact, but actually the jurisdiction that takes the biggest hit is really Scappoose.
Okay.
They've got the services, and they'll be providing services. We actually had this conversation with the fire chief and some other folks at the Scappoose meeting. They're providing services. Fortunately, it's an existing facility, and so they're already geared up for that plant for the most part. So this is really just delaying getting the tax benefit of that $14 million investment for 5 years.
Right. Well, I see all the benefits, and Columbia County needs all the jobs that they can get. I'm all for that. I'm still wondering what it costs the city of Vernonia, or do you know?
I don't know, and I can try and find that out. It shouldn't cost the city of Vernonia anything directly.
I think it only costs the community outright that where the enterprise investment is going, because the city of Scappoose is losing their revenue from it. It'd be like if we had somebody put something in at the airport, we would lose what would come back to our school district and our jurisdiction in that moment that we're having someone install in Vernonia as part of the enterprise zone.
Yeah, and you could extrapolate a bit in terms of the county revenue and what counties may allocate back out to jurisdictions, but it would be minimal, if really even detectable in Vernonia. It's the larger impact is in this is a big discussion that jurisdictions have when they approve the creation of enterprise zones. Is this is great right up until right up until it gets used, and are we, what will the impact be? Will we be able to provide the services that are necessary? And in those cases, and Scappoose did not ask for it this time, but I have seen cases where the impact, it'll be such a large investment, the impact will be so significant that they actually negotiate a deferral of a part of that, or front X amount of money so that we can ramp up our services for you, and then we'll work that out at the back end of your exemption, that sort of thing. But it really, it might be almost impossible to calculate the minimal benefit or minimal impact on Vernonia, because it would come through the county, the allocations from the county.
Sounds like if one family from Vernonia had a job there, we'd come out ahead on this deal. So I don't really see an issue with that. Thanks for the honest answer there, Paul.
Thank you.
Paul, I have a question.
Yes.
You mentioned Port Westward. Would this resolution extend the 2-year extension on it, serve as an incentive for the biodiesel plant that's been applied for to go on the Columbia there? Would that affect that, help that process become fruition?
Well, this one wouldn't particularly, because as you recall, we have 2 zones, and there's a separate enterprise zone up by Port Westward. Are you talking about Next Renewables?
I'm talking about the new biodiesel plant that is trying to get permitted to go on the river there at the Teven property.
Interestingly enough, and I haven't, I've been here less than a year. They haven't applied for enterprise zone benefits in that zone, and
Wow.
just gone through a change in local leadership, and I'm not sure they've actually made a hire yet, and that may actually happen. Councilor Howland is gesturing in some respect. I'm not sure. They could potentially apply in the future, but they've never applied for enterprise zone benefits, which, it's a pretty significant investment. It could benefit them, but that would be a completely separate action. That would be a different zone.
Okay.
I apologize, Paul. I was gesturing to Mr. Goodman there, and it was tried to sneak in on the camera.
Oh.
I think you're right about the biodiesel plant. They're wanting to go full bore, pay all the taxes and everything, if last I heard on that deal.
Yeah, that's my understanding. And, this is an incentive to get people to, help. This isn't something that will, enterprise zone benefits aren't something that will bring companies to us. What they are is kind of that last card to lay down to try and help them, get them to make that investment. And that's kind of how it played out with Cascades on this one. Is like, it's kind of apples and apples with these other plants, but if we can take advantage of this in Scappoose, then it costs out.
Well, look how it's worked out for Beaverton and Hillsboro with Nike and Intel.
They've done okay.
They've done okay on that short-term investment, probably.
Thank you, Mr. Vogel. Are there any other questions? Discussions? Would anyone like to make a motion on this resolution? Councilor Webb.
Yeah, I'll move to adopt resolution number 2021-02, a resolution of the City of Vernonia authorizing extended enterprise zones benefits for a 4th and 5th year to Cascades Tissue Group Oregon Converting, a division of Cascades Holding US Inc., Cascades, located in the South Columbia County Enterprise Zone.
Thank you, Counselor Webb. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Counselor Allen. Would you call the roll, please, Stephanie?
Counselor Williams,
I think you're muted, Grant.
Aye. Sorry.
Mayor Hobart,
Aye.
Counselor Allen,
Aye.
Counselor Potter,
Aye.
Counselor Webb,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you, Stephanie. And thank you, Paul, for being with our meeting tonight and bringing this and clarifying this resolution for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. I'm a little bit out of order. I wonder if I could just give you a brief little report. We just completed the county grant round, and I wanted to let you know that, excuse me, we did make awards to 12 Vernonia businesses for a total of almost $64,744.50. Those checks aren't quite in the mail. I think they'll be in the mail tomorrow. The county's a little late getting us the big check, but those checks should be in mailboxes and Vernonia businesses this week. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Well, thank you so much, Paul, and thank you to the Columbia County Economical Team for allocating those funds. I know our small businesses will definitely appreciate that. And thank you so much.
Very happy to do it. Thank
Yes,
you, Mayor.
thank you.
Okay, moving on to correspondence. And it doesn't look like we have any, Stephanie. No correspondence. Okay, we'll move on to the city administrator report.
Okay, so a lot of stuff's been going on in the community. So the play shed roof repair, the contractors completed that last week. They have a little bit of metal flashing to finish up. We did have to replace 30 plus sheets of plywood on the flat section that was punky. So they peeled that off, replaced it, and then did the rolled roofing and redid all of the 3-tab that's all the way around and all the flashing. So the cost was a bit higher than the original quote because we had an original quote and then we had a plus time and materials for whatever bad wood they found. So that came to about $4,000 of bad wood, mostly in plywood cost. So that cost us $20,800. The bid was $16,800. We did go through with the tree trimming contract, and Maple Crest Tree Care got that tree trimming contract with the lowest qualified bid. And in mid-December, they had that danger maple that has the huge hollow trunks taken down at Nehalem River Park. It took them a little longer than they expected because when it fell, it pretty much shattered, and then a whole bunch of it fell into the weird draw there. And there's a kind of dry creek bed, but in the wintertime it has water in it, so he did his best to get all the material out of there. The Ora Bullmeyer logging contract was awarded, an intent to award on December 9th, and then we had to wait the contesting week for any other bidders to contest who we picked. So that ended on December 16th, and that notice of award went out to Mike Peel Logging. Notices are going out to the residents regarding the project impacts of the neighborhood this week, and the project slated to start Monday, January 11th, weather permitting. So to save costs and not have the logging outfits kind of overcharge, Public Works is going to be doing the flagging on the highway in Louisiana during the cutting, which kind of benefits the logging company, because if the wind starts to pick up and they can't cut, then our public works team just goes back to doing what they were doing the rest of the day anyway. Kind of no time lost there. So that should happen starting January 11th. The trimming is scheduled to start on the walnut tree. They came and did some assessment, but the weather's just been really crummy to have anyone up in that tree or in a bucket. So we're kind of hinging on the weather right now to do that canopy trim by Maple Crest. That and the Danger Maple in the Halem River Park were part of the tree trimming we did. So Maple Crest will also be doing that walnut tree. So the CARES funding request, I had talked to you guys about, we were going to submit for the library materials, the city hall and library PPE, and the homeschooling materials, and the city hall laptops for tele-meetings, which we did. But just before we were supposed to submit that, we had a discussion with our state partners on what expenses could be reimbursed. Remember, they were really tight. We couldn't offer grants to businesses. We couldn't pay for employee time unless you could identify these really specific COVID criteria. Well, the Congress changed the requirements a bit and changed it and allowed for small communities to recover police funding that they had spent from March 1st to December 31st. So we applied for the whole $61,584.32, and that showed up in our bank account right before Christmas.
Great.
That will help us with covering the school resource officer. So we had an agreement with the school district where we paid percentages of her time, and with school closed, they weren't able to pay it, and it all kind of fell on us to keep her position employed, and so that will recoup some of that. And then, of course, it paid for all the things that we had to buy for the COVID exposure and cleaning and all of that, and the laptops that you're using right now. So there you go. The CZ Trail signage, I'm still working with Dale Latham. He's the volunteer on that CZ Trail committee that's helping us with the trail signage for Anderson Park and the linear trail signage within the city limits. So CZ Trail has their own specific signage. ODOT has what they want. And then there's kind of the universal trail symbol signage. So we don't have a lot to pick from because everybody's got their already set signage, right? So we're just kind of talking placement and keeping it from looking really cluttered. We're hoping to present that plan to the Parks Committee at their next meeting and then to council. And so this first plan will be partly permanent signage. That's kind of the CZ Trail stuff and some of the ODOT stuff. And then some of the kiosks will be more temporary. And then next year, when the county's going to apply for a Travel Oregon grant to mimic exactly the CZ Trail metal and flat wood. So that plan should come to you guys in the next month or so to kind of bless it for the elements it has. And we worked really hard to do all the merchants on one sign, information about the two trails like Banks Vernonia Trail this way and the CZ Trail this way, and some topographical maps and some elevation terrain, which is kind of good when people are heading out that way. And then I've been kind of fighting with Dale because everybody wants to just put a bike on it. And our trail in the city limits is bike, walkers, and horses. So I'm working it out to get those three universal symbols where it runs along our trail, because we know all of those people use our trail, not just bicyclists. So he's working with the sign people. It's turning out they don't like change, but I'm like, if we're putting it at that junction right by the dump, it needs to have walkers, bicycles, and horses, because those are all the people that use that. So that plan should be coming to you guys pretty soon. Public Works is working on a ton of stuff. Two of the things, they're still not quite finished with Nickerson. They have a catch basin up on the top road to put in, and then to finish some piping installation. And then they're trying to be very cautious right in front of Tony Schrader's. There's some giant trees where they have to do a new culvert under his driveway on Knott Street, because all the water is going to come to a catch basin right at the corner of Nickerson and Knott. And he's really concerned about us messing with those trees. He does not want them to start dying too early, and so they're being really cautious there. Once all that pipe's installed, then we'll re-pour that section of sidewalk along his street, and the money that we receive from the settlement and the insurance are still covering our expenses at this point. We haven't used up all that money, so that's good. They're also going to be installing a generator pad for the Rose Avenue generator. Mr. Bernardi's not happy that it's winter time and we don't have a generator there. But it kind of took a lot of hiccups and different things from that generator company. The seniors are going to purchase the generator. It's a natural gas generator that will be piped right into the natural gas line. We planned for that. And then there'll be a transfer switch inside the building. So if the power goes out, the transfer switch goes to one main panel that's basically going to start supplying power to all the refrigeration and freezer units, and then some main lighting. If there's more electricity, which we believe there will with the size the seniors are purchasing, then it'll trail off to the next panels, which is kind of the rest of the lighting. And because the lighting is all LED, there's not a huge draw from it. But those units that are holding all that food and inventory for the food bank and the senior kitchen are really kind of what they're worried about long-term being out of power. They're also working on, we've had a couple weird things that aren't really our projects, but Public Works is dealing with. The culvert at the end of Maple on Bear Creek blew out. Basically, the metal culvert just blew out and went downstream. So we've contacted the property owner that put that in and let him know and let ODOT know, because that trash gate that's right at Bridge Street, kind of below Titus's little shop there, ODOT's been checking that almost every day to make sure nothing's caught up in it, because that could cause a lot of problems. So we've notified all the right people for that one. And other than that, we're just, trudging along, doing the business of the city. I'm happy to take any questions you guys have.
Josette, I was going to ask you about the Learning Center canopies for the awnings. I think
the awning's up. It's right there on my list. I put a work order in for it. I think they're just so busy that they're, I'm like, it's zip strips and some grommets. I'm going to go down there and get a ladder and do it myself. But it's on there. They have a work order for it, Rick. It's just
cool.
With all the other weather-related things, it's not
yeah, I understand.
the top. But it would be nice to have those finished and up there.
Any other questions, Councilor Allen?
I just wanted to say good job getting the play shed mostly done. I didn't get a chance to see them. I could kind of see them up there in the dark. Looked like they were working hard, but I think we got a good price for the amount of work it took and the height up there. So
Yeah.
well done getting that going. I think the community is really going to get a lot of use out of that in the next 20, 30 years. So it's good to see it.
A follow-up. Sure, thank you. A follow-up to that is we're looking to do some sort of treatment on that concrete. It is slippery than anything. We've had a number of kids, even when it's not wet, it's just so worn down, and there's it's like, I don't know what they did, but there's no aggregate exposed. It's very smooth. So Tim's going to do a test patch of an acid treatment to see if it can get a little more grip on it, and if it works on his test patch, then he's going to, we have a couple of kids older than 18-year-old kids that want to volunteer to help, but he's going to be doing that on that surface there so that we have some safety there for the kids.
Yeah, that's probably, if that doesn't work, then you probably end up doing like a light sandblast or something, but hopefully
Yeah.
the emptying will work for you.
Any other questions for the city administrator? Discussions?
I do want to say, and I was going to send the two new counselors an email, but when the two counselors and the mayor came on, I sat down with them and kind of went over all of the projects the city has going. And so I'm happy to meet with you guys and kind of go through that. So when things come up, you kind of, maybe you don't fully get all the pieces of it, but you have a base to start with of the different projects the city has going. Your next meeting, we're going to be bringing to you guys a public hearing to apply for CDBG funding to fix the springboard sewer issue. So we're what's it called? He did
Springboard.
Nickerson, the Roseview Heights and Roseview Court there. Roseview Court and the springboard all comes down and goes across Wellers and down through Hawkins Park and to Bridge Street. And that line is really undersized if the full build out of all those lots up there happens. We're currently at capacity for what can go through that pipe without a pump station. So we're going to be trying to apply for a design grant. We were going to do it on our own with SDC funds, system development charges, but the timing of it, we'd be outlaying our own cash up front and then waiting a long time. So CDBG said, you guys should just apply for a design grant, be queued up to go into a construction grant and not spend your hard-earned money that's sitting in SDCs. So that's what we're going to be, one of the things we're going to be bringing to you guys next meeting. The other thing is that this is the year we do the collective bargaining with the police union. And so Angie Rubin and I will be doing negotiations for the police bargaining agreement, and then that'll come to you guys for approval. And it's always kind of a push, give and take, pushback, wanting to keep the union satisfied in what they want to require, but then also being fair to the rest of the employees that don't have that same benefit. It's a little hard when one group of employees gets a huge package and the other group's like, too bad. So we'll do our best to use the funds we have and not overextend. But that'll come to you guys for approval of the collective bargaining at that time. So that's kind of what we got going on. A lot of little stuff and some big things.
Okay. Counselor Webb.
Yeah, Josette and I talked today, but I don't know if we ever really nailed down a time. We also need to have a workshop on our reserve funds, specifically the water and sewer.
Oh, right.
I don't know if we want to bang that out in January or I think at the latest February, right, Josette?
Yeah, so you guys had talked about wanting to set up some percentages and some monetary numbers of what you want the minimums to be in those reserve funds so that we're always aiming towards that and we're not collecting too much in a rainy day or a future fund, keeping it kind of in line with keeping the rate stable for the ratepayers, but also setting aside money we may need to upgrade or do fixes or things like that. But you guys wanted to set that up ahead of the budget cycle so that staff could prepare to put those percentages in the budget, and then going into budget, that would be in there, and then the budget committee, which is you 5 and then 5 citizens, would kind of tweak and debate if there's any need to change what council's proposed. But that would be one meeting where Angie would bring you kind of what's in there, what's documented. There's not really a protocol documented. And that's kind of what we've always worried about. There's little things in the budget that she's always kept in there, like the intent of this is this, But one option is maybe adopting a protocol that could be revisited via a resolution or something, so that that's kind of more instilled and the future us know what our plans were with that money and why we set certain percentages and stuff aside. So I'm happy to schedule another one if you guys feel like scheduling another one.
We could either schedule it tonight or put it on the February or the January 18th agenda. Pick a day there.
How about February 10th? We'd have council on the 1st and the 15th, and that'd be right in the middle.
Is that a Wednesday also, JR?
Yes, Mayor.
That's fine with me.
I'm good with that.
Yeah,
6
that's
p.m.
fine.
Was that February 10th?
Yes. 6 p.m. Workshop on reserve funding for the water and sewer departments.
Hey, Dale, I thought we also had a question on carryover and stuff on general fund. Didn't you have a question on that carryover percentage on the reserve fund for the general fund also?
No, I don't remember that.
Well, so there is a facilities. Maybe you're thinking facilities, because general fund would go into like facilities maintenance or separate from water and sewer.
I can't remember.
We
I
can talk
thought
about all of them. I think it's good just
Dale
to
had
address all
something
the
to say
reserves.
about that one. That's true. You want to talk about reserve funds? We'll do it on February 10th. I'm good with that too.
Okay. And just
Okay,
for a
anything?
heads up, our council meeting is January 19th, because the 18th is the Martin Luther King holiday.
Oh, thank you,
It'll be
Josette.
19th at Tuesday 19th. Yeah.
7 p.m.
Yes.
Yep. Virtual.
So the other thing is that I don't know how many of you pay attention to the COVID and the governor's documentation of us, but currently we're still at extreme risk, and they basically base that on the number of cases, your population, and the percentages that get you there. So this unit we're in right now is January 1st to the 14th, and we're in extreme. And then they'll look at the week of the 7th through the 14th to determine if after the 14th our level stays that high or comes down based on the cases in Columbia County. So until the 14th, we're in extreme risk, which is the most restrictive. And then following the 14th, we'll get a new determination. Either we stay in extreme or we go down to high or moderate or whatever the numbers come out at.
Josette, they don't break us out from other places in Columbia County?
No, so it's Columbia County, it's the counties as a whole, and your population, and then your numbers, and then that, if that's a percentage that equals so many per 100,000 cases, that's how you get in those different categories. So we're such a small population for county that not very many numbers makes us pretty extreme.
So they don't look at us individually. We're in there with St. Helens and.
Yeah. And a few of the care places over there in the Highway 30 corridor had some outbreaks that really affected that number.
Yes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. Counselor Webb.
Yeah, I guess this would be the right time for this, but is there a way we can have virtual meetings with the committees? Is that possible, Stephanie or Josette?
Yeah, the Parks Committee has been meeting virtually.
Okay, so
As
that
our
is possible.
library
We can
committee.
set those up.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because I'm thinking of trying to push the Public Works Committee to get back in the saddle here.
Yeah.
What,
I'm happy to assist with that. I actually manage the go-to meeting for the committees, just like I do for you guys. So I would be here so that you guys can just call in. You don't have to do any of the, back office things.
Also, it does take up your time to have those meetings.
Yeah, but it's okay. That's my job.
would that be the same with the cemetery as well?
Correct.
Any committee that's interested in getting going, we're happy to set this stuff up.
Yeah, I'm afraid we're going to be in this for a while. So, and I think we've got a few issues, especially that springboard, all that proposal.
Yeah.
Just some issues, Louisiana, that's going to be coming, we're going to have to flesh that out a little. Be nice to have that committee kind of looking some of that over, giving recommendations to council.
Would you like me to reach out to them, or would you do that and let me know?
Let me talk to the chair and see
Perfect.
if we can go from there. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion for the city administrator? Thank you, Josette.
Sure.
We'll move on. Are there any items from the counselors tonight? Counselor Webb.
Get my mic turned on here. I just want to welcome aboard our two new counselors tonight. And
Thank you.
well, they have a good, everybody 4 years. Is that?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So here we go. Buckle up. If you have any questions, if you don't understand, we got staff, but we, as counselors do, like to pick each other's minds sometimes if you have some questions.
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions.
Just remember, we can't do 3 people and, for public meeting laws. So,
Which
okay,
includes
welcome aboard.
Facebook.
Thank you.
Yeah, no Facebook.
About city things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Although I'm not on there anymore, so
Yeah, I see you resigned.
it's to you.
Any other, Counselor Allen?
Yeah, same here. I want to warmly welcome Grant Williams and Lorna Potter Goodman. I'm not sure how you want to be addressed, but I think we know who we're talking about there. Is it Potter or you want to go by Goodman, Lorna?
Yeah, it don't matter. Part of each one. So Potter's fine, Goodman's fine. I don't care. Shorten
About
it if
Lorna?
you want. I'm not offended if you shorten it.
We'll figure it out. Well, anyway, I want to welcome you both. I think the
Thank you.
citizens made two good choices. I think you both care for Vernonia, and I think that's the most important thing. A little common sense and a little love for the town, and you'll be just fine. So don't stress about it. You'll catch on in a couple of weeks and off and running.
Thank you, JR.
Thank you.
Thank you, JR. And I'd also like to again welcome Lorna and Grant to our council, and I'm excited for this next year. And we were all 3 sworn in at City Hall this morning, and it's good to be on our way. And I look forward to a good year, actually a better year than last, and in light of how our first meeting went, virtually, I think we did pretty well. So, thank you for being a part of this. And with that being said, we'll go on to the action item summary.
Okay. So the items I have are that you guys are having a work session January 13th at 6 p.m. Staff will send out what other cities are doing in regards to waivers of remonstrance and sidewalks and requiring development to put those in. We're going to check into the situation of the 2nd Street house fire to see if there's a way to direct them to other resources such as community action team if they're not, fully kind of taken care of with insurance and those type of things. And then we're going to look at what happened with the lake RV dry camping fee, where that stalled, or if it went through and staff just forgot to get it on the master fee schedule and bring that information back to you guys. Is there anything I missed that was an action for staff? Stephanie?
The work session for reserves.
Oh yeah, February 10th, 6 p.m. reserves. Got it.
And then the next council meeting will be January 19th on Tuesday at 7 p.m.
The next regular council meeting.
Regular
Have a
council
work
meeting.
session next Wednesday.
Correct. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for participating tonight, and I will adjourn this meeting at 9:10 p.m. Meeting adjourned. Good night, all.